Hey, welcome to the channel. This is West Virginia football going deep. I was, and I hope will be Forrest Poston, talking today about some player interviews. And admittedly, they are often not as detail-filled as the coaching interviews. But we picked up some tidbits today from Martin, Wilson, and Yates, which is not the same as Abraham, Martin, and John. But it applies more to the subject at hand. They did discuss players that they think are standing out, going to surprise people, and we will get to that. I know that is likely your biggest point of interest today. Before we get to any of it, you can guess what's coming. Please subscribe to the channel. Click the thumbs up button. Ignore the thumbs down button, please. Make comments. Profanity is not preferred, but sometimes may be the most accurate. And also, click share, tell your friends, all those good things. This helps get the video out to more people, shows up on their suggestion page, and that eventually, I hope, helps me. All right. Shawn Martin, one thing of note, you will eventually notice he is now wearing number 5. It is a tribute to a friend of his who died from a brain aneurysm. So I'm sure that is a story we will hear some more about as the season goes on. From what he says, the defense is starting well for the beginning of practice, but will just keep getting better. You know, it's an attitude we like. Back to the culture situation, he said, if you have guys who care and want to play together, want to be a team, that helps. And he said, right now, they are not thinking about the Big 12 championship. They're focused on Penn State only. And of course, Big 12 championship is the kind of thing that we in the media like to talk about because we don't have to focus on Penn State. We'll talk about just about anything. But it is good to hear that the players know where to focus. All right. He also said going up against Wyatt Milam helps because every down Milam is trying to kill him. So hey, so if Martin survives, he must be pretty good. And I've always been fond of Martin's sense of humor. He is a very quiet-spoken guy. And I was hoping that by this time he would be getting a little more aware of his humor and using it more often. And I think a lot of it just kind of slips by because it's not overt necessarily. But when asked about playing basketball in high school and the advantage, he said, it kept me from getting fat. So I don't know if the simple answer is always truer, but in this case, it's funnier to me. Then again, nothing kept me from getting fat. Yates. And Wilson next. No wonder I couldn't find my notes. I was talking out of order. Wilson was out there in a sleeveless shirt. And I know they call him Ant, just as short for Anthony. But you look at those arms, and it seems appropriate because you could believe he could carry as many times his body weight as an ant. And is that something like 100 times their body weight? I forget. I would not like to be in his way when he is headed towards the ball carrier. He said now he's more comfortable. It's helping him be a better leader. And again, back to the cultures, the stronger the bonds are in the locker room, the better your team is. And yeah, we are hearing a lot of consistent things, and it's not just things the coaches have said. And at least, when they do repeat something the coach says, it means they're listening. He's playing both cat and free safety in the spring, and says that, since Shawn Brown moved from primarily corners to having corners and the safeties, adding Brown's perspective just helps them more. Not because it's different, not because he's undoing anything, but just each person can teach you something, either a different technique, a different perspective, but it helps. And he said, this year, we're going to run and hit. That's going to run and hit. That's what he likes. That's what he's expecting the defense to do this year. Yates said, main thing as center is he's learning to look more at the bigger picture, because, of course, he is kind of the man who has to see it all and get it out to the rest of the line. So, being able to read defenses, being able to understand what everybody is supposed to be doing. And, of course, he's in a great position to understand that since he has played just about everywhere on the line. Maybe not left guard. I think left tackle, right guard, and center. That you got to like him. Is he the same as Frazier? No. Is he likely as good as Frazier? No. But he represents us well. And he is definitely working to step up his game. Basically says you can't miss a beat going from Frazier to the next guy, whether that guy is him or somebody else. And you have to keep moving forward. It's time to take a step up, not back. Again, you like what these guys are saying. Well, I figure you should like it. If you don't, you probably root for Pitt. Asked if the line was going to be different this year, more mobile, not as physical. He said it's the same mentality, but they are going to open the playbook more. I don't know if Coach Brown likes having him say that, but it was hopefully pretty obvious they were opening the playbook by the end of last year as guys got more comfortable. And we are coming in now with a lot of experience on offense. And I did not know that when he came in for Frazier in the bowl game, he had been limited in reps and was really just kind of finishing concussion protocol. So he didn't even have his helmet on. And when he saw Frazier go down, he was 20 yards down the field and just started running because he knew what was coming. And it turns out they practice things like that. I know they practice fast, changes, but I didn't know they practiced for that kind of contingency. Now, who is standing out to these guys? The very first one is the one that actually stood out to me most. First guy that Shawn Martin mentioned, Jerel Williams. And you may recall he's on my 10 most likely to transfer list unless he can step up. The talent, he was well thought of coming out of high school, but somehow has not made that next step. Maybe he is. He's been one of those guys I've been waiting on. I want him to take the next step. Martin says, looking good. Now, what do we think of these player evaluations? Last year, they said that Tara Simmons was the hardest working, most improved guy, and that evidently just went nowhere. Don't know why, but Simmons did not become a difference maker. But maybe we'll see something extra in Jerel Williams. Also mentioned cornerback Jordan Jackson. And this is of particular interest because Jackson was also mentioned by Anthony Wilson. So, one guy says it, you wonder. Two guys say it, you start paying more attention. Only guy on offense that Martin mentioned, Nick Malone. And then he went on to mention most of the front guys. As far as he's concerned, Keith, McIntyre, Mulba, TJ Jackson, Russell, Trotter, and French, all really doing well. And of course, hearing it about Trotter is especially good. And Yates listed Trotter as well, and also said, doesn't look like he was ever injured. Lateral movement, none of this is a problem. And says the anticipation, he is heading to the play before the play gets going. He can read and determine. Now, fortunately for Yates, he's played against Trotter enough that he can also guess where Trotter's going. So they're kind of even on that. With Wilson, Z Jennings, he is a guy that is expected to play as a freshman, probably burn his red shirt unless some other guys just stand out enough to keep him off the field. To go along with his, we're going to run, we're going to hit, he says Jennings is going to run and hit you. So, sounds like those guys are going to get along as long as they're not hitting each other. I say he mentioned Jackson, also Bray and Clement. So, and those are receivers that other guys have brought up, particularly coaches and I think some of the other players. It's only the second week of spring camp, but we're hearing good things about key people. And Yates, the guys for him who stand out, Johnny Williams. Haven't heard a lot about Williams this year. Expectations high. Some vague possibility that he could switch positions and take a starting spot. Don't really expect that. I think he will spend one more year behind Milam. Livingston is doing well. Has had a good winter. And, of course, he's in a good spot to say that since they're competing for the center spot. He also picked Mulba and Russell, TJ Jackson, Shawn Martin, and Trotter. So we are getting several guys that are repeated. And I am not worried, because, they aren't picking some of the stars. But the reporter who asked the question did specify guys who might surprise you. And, of course, it would take a lot for Green, Donaldson, or White to surprise us. But we're hearing good things. Hearing it about some key people, it would make a really big difference if they do step up. So, let's see, no practice tomorrow. Next one will be Thursday, and then I think Saturday is Family Day. Do not know who we'll be hearing from when, but you will be hearing from me sooner or later. I would say whether you like it or not, but if you don't like it, you aren't going to tune in. So have fun. Dream of beating Penn State. I'll talk to you later.